What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to react to you to X-Men 97, Episode 1. To Me, My X-Men. Now, there's been a lot of hype and news surrounding this show and a lot of possible cringe material that's in this show. But I can tell you, just to bury the lead completely, in this first episode, there was none of that. The first episode was actually pretty solid. I laughed. I saw some cool stuff out of the animation. There were some things that I did not like in it. But for the most part, it had that feel of the original X-Men cartoon from the 90s, despite some minor changes and whatnot. Now, the story picks up with the X-Men after a few months after Charles has been killed by Henry Gyrick. He was assassinated. And Cyclops is trying to lead the team and go on without Xavier. And in this quest, they are chasing down some of these friends of humanity who have gotten a hold of some new technology and have recently kidnapped a young mutant by the name of Robert DaCosta. Now, I like Robert DaCosta, his character, Sunspot. He's one of my favorite fire type characters in the X-Men. I think he's a cool character. His alternative evil persona is actually more cool to me, Rainfire. So if they could find some kind of way to get to that point with using him, I'd be happy with that. But that's a ways off. That's a ways off. But in this episode, Friends of Humanity have kidnapped Robert or just snatched him up. Don't really know who he is at all. And he is rescued by Storm of the X-Men and Bishop. Now, this part in the beginning of the dialogue is kind of funny because you have the characters calling out each other's names. And I understand that's just a writing thing to let people who don't know who these characters are, like who are you, understand who these characters are. Wasn't feeling Bishop's voice too much, but for this episode, they used him very little. I did have a little bit of problem with that, especially since he's the only black dude on the team, and they used him very minor. Very minor. I wonder if that has anything to do with the showrunner. Be it as it may, the X-Men rescue Robert DaCosta from the Friends of Humanity and bring him back to the school where he is introduced to the rest of the X-Men in their mission to find out why he was snatched and where did these Friends of Humanity get this technology. Now, you also find out during this time of these introductions that Jean Grey is pregnant and her and Scott are expecting a baby. And there is a sentiment while Cyclops is a bit disgruntled, I could say, with the way the X-Men are behaving post Xavier's death, that they are just carrying on lackadaisical plan and whatnot, not taking things as serious as he is. I think this is a little bit of a departure for Scott because he's whining about something that he can clearly fix himself because he is the field leader of the X-Men. He is. Now, I thought it played well that Wolverine and Cyclops have a little bit of beef, and where Wolverine does not want to listen to Scott because he is not Charles, but he still goes along with it because Jean asks him. Okay, that's a little cool. A little cool. Through Robert DaCosta meeting Jubilee and getting to escape the school or leave the school, the X-Men are sent out to find him. And end up in a club. Now, what kind of club did they end up in? I don't know, but I thought that was pretty interesting. But it did give you a chance to establish some things with the other characters, one of which that Jubilee is a kid. She's a kid who likes her powers, right? That Gambit and Rogue are a burgeoning couple. And Gambit is always putting the moves on Rogue. Always. They like each other. It's cool. Right? You also get Morph really screwing with Wolverine by turning into Jean Grey and saying a lot of stuff that Wolverine is thinking, but not saying. And Wolverine, in a sense, plays into it by responding to Morph initially like she is Jean. But understanding that dynamic, that Wolverine cannot have Jean, even though he loves her, and that Scott and Jean have this appearance of a perfect relationship bothers him a bit. I thought that was a little good touch. It was messed up, but one of the things that this episode is good for is Morph delivering some really messed up lines that make you laugh. But that is what Morph did in the original series. He made Wolverine laugh. He could be that friend of Wolverine that can get him to crack a little bit and ease up. So I like seeing that in there. It made the episode fun. Now I'm not going to spoil the rest of what happens, but the cameos of another character in there is very cool. In a sense, it's very cool because it gets into the whole X Factor portion of the X-Men where Scott and Jean actually left the X-Men for a while and went and formed a team of X Factor, and the team carried on with Storm and Wolverine and the rest of them as the X-Men, while Scott and Jean and some of the other originals were off being X Factor under government auspices, so to speak. So it would be interesting to see if they get into that, because they already touched on it in the original X-Men cartoon where Scott and Jean kind of went on vacation and stuff like that. But maybe they can get to it in this show. I don't think they have enough episodes to, but that would be something interesting, especially since they are having this baby, and the inclination in one part of this episode is that Jane was possibly getting a vision from the baby, a psychic vision from the baby, or somebody else. Don't know. But it's real interesting to see what develops from that. But all in all, it was a good start. I'm doing a double feature, so I'm going to watch this next episode right after I finish recording this. So I'm going to leave it right there. I will say it's fun. The first episode is fun. I do feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but the first episode was good. It was a good start to get back into the feel of the X-Men and the X-Men cartoon and see where they're going with it. So with that, I'm going to get back to it. I've been artisanmc, and I will see you next time. Peace. What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review for you X-Men 97, Episode 2, Mutant Liberation begins. Well, this episode had a lot of good points in it. I thought the story was pretty solid going forward. And what you have in this episode is Magneto at the X-Mansion with the X-Men adjusting to the fact that he is now there. It is now his stuff. And he is there to lead the X-Men. Now, in X-Men comics, this has happened a few times, that Magneto has come back when Xavier has died to take charge of the X-Men and try to be a good person, which is one of the reasons why Magneto is one of my favorite villains in Marvel Comics, because Magneto is very complex. Very complex. You get his core. You get what he will go the hell off about. You know what he'll go off about. But what he will tolerate in service of that is a lot. And it just shows that he can be a hero. He can be a hero. It's just his version of heroism is like, look, don't F around and find out. Don't find out. Because when he's bad, he is bad. He is a problem for the world. But when he's good, he can do some right. So he's trying to honor Charles Xavier, which is one of the things I like about that character is that Eric and Charles really do have a friendship. They really do respect each other a lot. They have differences of opinion on how mutants should go forward, but there is an underlying respect there that Eric has for Charles and vice versa, that they are always friends. Ideologically, they are on different sides of it, but they are always friends and always have a respect for each other. And I like that this episode played that up a bit more, that you see that Magneto actually grieves for the loss of Xavier. Yeah, he's there. Yes, he will be in X-Men face about I'm in charge and this is what we're going to do. But he does legitimately grieve Charles's loss. He does miss his friend, which is one of the things I like about the character, like I'm saying. Now, part of this is kind of put to the side when Val Cooper and their government agencies show up and they want to take custody of Mr. Lynchia for his crimes against humanity, and they want to put him on trial in front of the UN. Now, yeah, but how you gonna take him? The X-Men are there, try to let Magneto know that the good guys have arrived, and Magneto knows better. They're not good guys today. They're here to take me. And sure enough, they want to take him in. So in a gesture of goodwill, Magneto yields. He doesn't make them try to work for it. No, he just, powers down, gets the hooked and booked and put the inhibitor collar on and everything. I'm like, that's a big step. Probably still a problem, but that's a big step for him. Now, the rest of this episode centers around Scott and Jean possibly leaving the baby, but also it introduces the concept that there is a shared relationship between Magneto and Rogue, a secret relationship that the rest of the X-Men know nothing about. Now, per comics, I do not remember Rogue's relationship in regular continuity being with Magneto, Eric Lehnsherr proper. Don't remember that at all. In the Age of Apocalypse storyline, I do remember Rogue and Eric Lehnsherr, Magneto, being together. But in regular continuity, my understanding that the Rogue got involved with Joseph, who was a clone of Magneto. Right? Well, no, not even a clone. He was... Forget what he was. Was he a clone, or Eric had a problem and didn't remember who he was at some time or something like that? Some shit. But it was another Magneto person, but not the Eric that you know of. Okay? And they did have a relationship because his abilities, his magnetism gave him the ability to kind of make a bond, a barrier between his skin and Rogue's skin, and Rogue could actually touch and kiss somebody. Didn't go over so well with Gambit, but they could. Now, they've introduced that into this show, which is interesting because it sets up a little interesting love triangle that Gambit will not take lying down. Look, it's going to be a problem. Magneto or not. The Raging Cajun gonna have some words with him very soon. It's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem at the old mansion tonight. Okay, but it's interesting that they put that in there because that's the interpersonal dynamic in the X-Men that makes it more fun and more interesting to look at, because while these people are teammates, group members, a family, in a sense, they do have some problems with each other at times, like a family. They do have problems with each other sometimes. Everybody don't like everybody all the time. And that's part of the allure to the X-Men, outside of being the outsiders to the rest of the world and whatnot. Sometimes within their own group, they're outsiders to each other. Sometimes they are. Now, the rest of this story plays out with the Friends of Humanity leader at this time. I'm forgetting his name. Working on his tech and creating an armor for himself. And the armor and his weapons that he has is all other little tech that he has and whatnot, but he becomes the executioner character. Now, I thought this was a cool little throw in, a cool cameo that I totally missed because the guy had a scarred face. I had forgot all about this guy's name or whatever. But as soon as he put on a costume, I was like, oh shit, it's the executioner. Okay, that's a cool little nod. That's a cool, throw in there. I'm mad that I missed it, right? But it was cool to see that character represented on the screen, because he can be a problem. He can be a problem legit because, his little tech and stuff like that he has. Now, he decides that since the UN is putting Magneto on trial, he's going to show up and take out Magneto. And he has rigged up this gun from an inhibitor collar. And he's going to roll in there and take care of Magneto. Now, I'm not going to ruin the rest of the episode for you on that. I'm not. You have to watch that shit to see what happened with that. But I can say it was an awesome little bit of storytelling. A little bit telegraphed, but an awesome little bit of storytelling to see where it goes with that. The other story that's running through this is the whole thing with Jean being pregnant and Scott and Jean possibly leaving, because every time they talk to Magneto, every time Cyclops and Magneto are alone talking or in front of people, the first thing that comes out of Magneto's mouth is, so when y'all leaving? Thought you were leaving. It's kind of funny to me because it's a lot like, yeah, just get out of here. Like, just gone. Yeah, you said you was leaving, right? So bounce. Why are you still here? What's the hold up? It makes it kind of funny to me that he keeps, every time they're alone, dude, that's the first thing out of Magneto's mouth. Like, so you were leaving. So you must leave us. Like, man, do you gotta try to push me out the door so fast? But it's Eric's character, man. It's just who he is. That's kind of funny to me. So I can say, at least for these first 2 episodes, I'm enjoying the show. There was a little bit of a line when Magneto gave a speech at UN that had some woke shit thrown in there. So, but okay, it's a line in some dialogue slipped in there. Not so bad. The overall message was on point, but that little bit that was slid in there, it's like, okay, bro. But overall, it didn't distract from the rest of the episode, what was going on in it. The animation still looks solid. I like the story that was told, and I like the threads that are being laid out to see where some of this stuff goes, because I'm telling you, a pissed off or jealous Gambit will be interesting to see, especially with Rogue involved and Magneto. They don't always get along. And some of the stuff with Wolverine, yes. There's some interesting stuff that I can see happening in the next couple of episodes. And I believe it's only 8 episodes of this. So we are, about a third of the way through this already, and I am entertained. And I'm glad that I'm entertained, because I was dreading this show a little bit. But in 2 episodes, 2 33-minute episodes, they've been better than the Bad Batch in 7. That's saying a lot or very little. So, with that, I enjoyed episode 2. I really did. And I will be looking forward to seeing episode 3 of X-Men 97. So, with that, like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I have been artisanmc, and I will see you next time. Peace.